Hello and welcome to the UK Surf Show. We are your hosts. I'm Pete.
And I'm Mitch, and on today's episode we kick off the Northeast edition with big wave surfer Loui Thomas Hudson. This river, I always get stressed out with people with double-barreled names. Loui Thomas Hudson of Tynemouth Surf Co and of Portuguese Nazare.
Yeah, Nazare, big wave surfer, real nice guy. And we'll get straight on with this, and then we'll come back and give our thoughts afterwards. So
let's go.
Cool. So my name's Loui Thomas Hudson, and I'm a professional big wave surfer and the owner of Tynemouth Surf Co, which is a surf school, surf shop, and online shop. And I'm 27 years old, and I'm based in Tynemouth, which is northeast England. So fellow Geordie.
So if you want to swipe left or right now, that's his
his Tinder profile sorted out.
So let's start at the beginning. When and how did you get into surfing?
So I started surfing when I was around 6 years old, and the shop's been around since 1995. So before I was born. And my dad set up the store, and he was a really keen surfer. So I started surfing with him, and my mum got into surfing as well. So we're pretty much all just like surfed throughout my childhood, I pretty much used to just surf out at Long Sands, just my local beach, and sort of stuck with it like right up until now.
It sounds like a real family endeavour. Surfing, I find it rare actually. Like the amount of people we speak to, either through the show or through people you just know. But of all the people that surf, there's not many really like fully immersed surf families. I don't think that spring to mind. So it's really cool that you've got that. It must be such a cool thing to do.
Yeah, no, it's great. Like that, we could all surf together and like you say, that I suppose there's not like too many full families that surf. I mean, my good friend Ben and Ben and his family all surf, and I suppose the Skinners are all
Skinners. And the other one that comes to mind is the Crookshanks.
Yeah.
Like when it's a full family thing.
Yeah.
All my kids surf, and actually we surfed the week before last with my son. It's like they might get a few times a year. It's too cold for them, and thankfully they're now the size that they fit my wetsuit, so it's saving me a fortune. I've got enough wetsuits lying around. But it was the first time where it wasn't just me pushing him into waves. My son was just paddling about, catching waves himself, which was such an epic thing to do. It's really cool. Yeah,
totally. And I think like for myself, when I was growing up around here, like there wasn't many kids surfing. So for me, I was surfing a lot like on my own, and having the surf shop around, that was like super cool for me as a kid, because aside from like surfing with my mum and dad, like there was all the instructors and the coaches and all the guys. So I was often just like hanging out with crew that were a bit older than me, and it was sort of great to have that that sort of core there just to hang out with as a kid. And I do a lot of coaching now on the side, and when I'm sort of home in the summer seasons, and that's one thing I've been trying to build, is like getting a solid Grom squad together here, nice. which we've pretty much done, and we've got the next sort of generation coming up, which is great to see, because I know when I was a kid, I always wanted friends to surf with, they'd totally, just be like me on my own,
I want that as an adult.
Yeah, that's true. Actually, it's a sore subject.
It is a sore subject lately,
but it's so important. I say it all the time. Like, I think it's one of the most progressive elements of surfing is for any surfer to see people doing, power moves or airs or just big surfing, like at the beach in person on your local beach. When you see that, it makes you think, well, I could probably do that. Doesn't matter if you can or you can't. In fact, you go try it. So then it's amazing that there's people like yourself that are interested in pushing that. And it's great to see it here, because as you know, it's kind of where I started my surfing journey, around the northeast of England. And in fact, it's been a while since I've been here.
I don't think you've mentioned that ever on this podcast, actually.
Yeah, but it's important, because I feel like, this is the thing, I don't know what you think, but I feel like the northeast is the most overlooked surf demographic around. And actually, the northeast not only produces amazing surfers, it produces some amazingly influential characters or professionals in the surfing world. Gabe Davies, for example. These people are like really high up at what they do and have a lot of voice. I don't feel the northeast gets the recognition it should for that.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. There's a lot of a lot of really good surfers that have come out the northeast, and we get really, really good waves here. Sometimes even world class waves on the right spots. But
so, what are those spots?
well,
if it's anything like Wales, like we said, it's like, I can't tell you that. Put the cameras down, microphones off, and it's like, right, where you want to go?
And of course we went.
Yeah.
But we've got world class waves. We've got loads of fun beach breaks. But I think, one, it's pretty cold, and two, it's not the most consistent place, especially throughout the summer months. So in the winter time, you've got to be pretty committed, and don't mind getting in the snow with all your hooded suits and 6 mils and boots.
We went in near Bamborough yesterday, wasn't it? I can't know. That's why I said near Bamborough. And first time surfing this area, and first wave was like, whoa, that's cold, but it wasn't too bad yesterday. But then we are into like end of April now, so I expect it's a little bit warmer.
Well,
I was thinking,
there's two things here. One, I feel like it's probably colder in the water now than it normally is this time of year. I think we've had such a cold winter. I swear I've normally ditched my gloves by now. And I swear
totally. I was thinking the same thing.
And the other thing is that, obviously I surf on the East Coast in Scotland a lot, and I've spent a lot of time surfing here. I actually think that around here is the peak of the cold for the whole East Coast. Like, I think Pease Bay and them spots, the Old Kent Road, as the Cruikshanks call it. I actually think it's not warmer. Let's be clear, it's not warmer, but it's a little bit warmer than here. For some reason, I think this is the peak of the cold around here.
It certainly does get pretty cold around here. There's been definitely times where, like, I've been rocking up to a spot and it's like blizzard and snow, and you've got like a damp wetsuit in the car at 6 a.m. and it's still dark, and you're just thinking like, what am I even doing here?
It's not cool.
And they're the best surfs as well, aren't they?
Oh,
normally?
for sure, man. Once you get in there and stuff, it's always. To be honest, when you've got like the right equipment, I mean, you guys will know. Often, like, you're actually too hot, when especially when the waves are good because you're paddling so much. But just that
Which
initial
is worse.
change.
I think being too hot is more stressful than being too cold. Because at least if you're cold, you can move about and try and warm up. If you're too hot, it's just horrendous.
If you've got a new 6 mil or something and you're paddling around, it's like, sometimes you're actually dunking your head under the water, without your hood on, just to cool down.
I don't think I've ever worn a 6 mil.
I wore a 6 mil when I told you before. I think it was an O'Neill one I ordered, and they sent me a 6 mil instead of a 5 mil.
Right.
And I was like, it'd be warmer. There's nothing worse than sweating in a wetsuit. It's cold.
No, I've never gone above 5 mil.
Yeah.
We pretty much do, like, I go for pretty much 6 or 5 mil throughout the winter time. And then in the summer, it's like I only really go to a 4, but I still usually use my 5 most of the time in the summer here.
So you're in a 4,
I think that tells you, because you're higher up in Scotland, and like you were saying about, you think this is the coldest area. That it could be to do with the currents and swells.
I'm
the way
talking
it's
like
come.
a quarter of a degree difference.
Whereabouts are you based again?
So I'm in Caldy in Fife.
Yes.
My sort of closest spot is, I suppose, St Andrews.
Right. Yeah.
But I'll surf like Pease Bay and East Coast and Bamborough and around there.
And you think it's warmer up there than here, do you?
I'd be careful using the word warmer, but it's
definitely
a touch colder
it's a claim
here.
Now.
It's definitely a touch colder here, like no doubt. But no, 6 mil. So you go 4 mil in the summer. I've surfed Bamborough and boardies.
Well, of course it depends on the conditions, but like as a whole, if I'm like surf instructed and surfing through the day a little bit, I'll usually just stick like a 5 or a 4 mil on.
There's a lot of standard
of course,
around
like
then,
if you're just going for a quick surf in the summer and the weather's nice, I do whip out the 3 mils, but most of the time, like it's usually a 4 or 5 for me. Just maybe I'm just a bit of a puss.
For clarity, I'm not saying ever surfing the northeastern boardies. I think the fact that I'd surfed in a 3-2 for an hour and it was a really hot day at the back end of summer, enabled me to then go get in. I think Quicksilver sent me a load of boardies.
Nice.
They're famous ones with the checkered stripes on the side.
Oh, I had a pair of those.
Yeah, they sent me them. Can you get some content? And I hadn't got content, and I was like, I'd surfed an hour, and I went, I could maybe do it with the boardies. And I think I lasted like half an hour, but I could not have got in just in them. Is the problem.
No.
Totally.
So how do you go then from northeast Tynemouth surf shop, surf instructor, to going and surfing at Nazare? What's that journey? How did that come about?
Well, that seems like an obvious progression. There's no point talking about it. Let's move on.
So yeah, as I was like saying before, started surfing in Tynemouth. My granddad was actually one of the first surfers like in the area. And like he used to have it's actually that big board down there. Like see that sort of like Tenno down there.
Yeah.
He used to have a board like that one or one of those two on the wall, and it would like take two of them to like carry it down the beach. They were like that heavy.
Sounds like my longboard.
And they used to surf on those. And then obviously that's then my dad started surfing, and then my mum got into surfing, and then obviously I got into surfing when I was about 6. Through my like junior time, I was mainly like shortboarding and used to do a lot of contests, and was captain of the British team when I was about 17, 18, and went to California with the British team, which was like, you know, I still look back like one of the like best memories ever. It was amazing. You know,
didn't surf once.
And then I went to Australia, had a little bit of just time out. You know, I spent a lot of time competing from when I was, you know, like 10 to kind of 17, 18, and just felt like I just needed some free fun time. Went over to Australia and just had a good time over there. And when I came home, I just started like, I mean, of course I was surfing a lot over in Australia as well, but not so much on a competitive scale, just for fun. And when I got home, I started, I was just shortboarding, I was longboarding, started doing a few longboard contests, and I'd always thought, I'd quite like to get into some big wave surfing. And I, like my good friend Sandy, he was going over to Ireland a little bit to surf Mullaghmore, and my friend Danny, and so that was like my first sort of big wave destination was Mullaghmore. And the first time I went over there, and it was actually like massive, like not what you want for the first ever time. You know, I just like rocked up. Fortunately, I had a friend over there, Taz Knight, and he like showed me like where to go and what to do, and I just rocked up, and it was like 30 foot, and I was just like, oh god. Anyway, I like paddled out, and that first trip I actually like didn't catch a wave at Mully, because even like now if I went in, I'd think like it was pretty big. Right. And just not the best day to paddle. I do toe surfing and paddle surfing now. That day I was paddling. I didn't really have any connections or my own jet ski back then. And I just went out but even I remember just like sitting out there and even just like watching the waves for like a couple hours and coming back in. I just remember feeling like absolutely buzzing, and I was like,
like the difference. I would have been feeling absolutely terrified.
Yeah, I know, it's horrible. I wouldn't want to be
I feel like big wave surfing, it's like, it's kind of like normal surfing, but like, obviously you've got your adrenaline, you've got your, all the happiness, the escapism,
fear of death.
Yeah, and a massive amount of fear mixed in there. But
I was going to say, do you find it more terrifying, afraid, whatever word you want to use for it, like big wave surfing, or on a smaller day, like say round here or something, but when it's like really punchy and like really, what's the difference in that? I suppose for people out there that have never experienced, some people out there surf 2 or 3 foot, and that's what they're comfortable with, and that's what they stay. But like, I mean, say you're doing like 6, 8 foot or whatever it gets out.
No,
here,
I know what you're saying.
What's the difference?
For me, I find big waves scarier, just like to be straight. But like, you've got slabs and you've got big waves that are both really scary. Yeah. Depending on the slab, and in a way, slabs are actually more dangerous. For guys that don't know what a slab is, it's just basically like a slab of rock, and the wave comes and forms a big barrel over it. Super shallow, you can get great rides, but they're actually really dangerous because you can obviously like fall and hit your head, and that's when that it can get a bit serious. Rather than most of the time, big waves are usually like in quite deep water, and I think with your equipment now, you're kind of unlikely to drown. But. Even like Mullaghmore, it looks shallow, and there is shallow parts on it, but it kind of washes you into a deep channel. So like, you're probably going to get a couple waves on the head, and you most of the time you'd be in the channel. I'm not trying to say go out and just you'll be all right. You know what I mean? But like,
take that for me.
Just like Mullaghmore 30 foot waves. You're probably going to get a couple on the head. It's bad enough when you get a couple on the head, and they're like 4 foot or something like that. And
I asked. I was out for dinner with Ben Larg and a family last week, and I asked him a similar question, because I think maybe for people listening, maybe you could make this assumption, and I think maybe I did as well. And I would assume, because you've surfed massive Nazare and Mullaghmore, that then well, what other wave could actually be a problem in your head? But like you said, there's a different type of wave. So
Shipstins scare me. Like,
right, okay.
I've always been like shipstins and chopu, like they look pretty terrifying.
It just looks scary, don't
they? Yeah,
don't it? Because they're like big and shallow, you know. Yeah. But yeah, from Ireland, I remember I came back after that trip and I was like, I really like I was so intrigued. I wanted to like just get stuck in. Yeah. So got a bit more equipment and a bit more organized, and went back over for my second trip, and yeah, definitely there was like a nice small day that day, so I got a lot more into it that day. Well, maybe like a 15-foot day, you know, like it wasn't that big.
I wouldn't even have bothered, wasted time.
Maybe like 20 on the suns.
Yeah, Mitch has just been in his boardies.
And then it was the third trip back, which I think was like really the point for me, where I thought like, right, I want to start taking this like a bit more serious, and I'd love to try and become a professional big wave surfer. And there was almost like there was quite a like specific point when the swell was like a really good swell. The first day was a tow day, and I got some great waves towing. Mm-hmm. And then I was there with my friend Danny, and the next day there was just like one spot on the jet ski. So I said, to my friend Danny, like you have the spot on the jet ski. I'd had some great waves the day before. Okay. So I went out and just paddled with my my gun, which is like one of these. And I was just going to sit in the channel on my board and wait for a tow. And Tom Lowe was out there. I mean, he's obviously like one of the best like big wave surfers in the world, in my opinion, on paddling. And I thought, all right, I'm just going to like paddle over to the peak and just like check it out, you know, and see what's what. So I paddled over there, got out there, and there was just like me and Tom Lowe out there and a few like tow teams. And then I think Noah Lane paddled out, and this set came, and like Tom went, and then Noah went, and I was just like out there on my own, like, and there was just like, it was like pretty big, and I was just thinking like, oh my god, I'm a bit like out my depth here, you know, like was this a good decision? Like looking back over to the channel, like to see if I could see anyone.
Where's the off switch?
The first set came through, and I was like, oh fuck that, you know, like I'll paddle over the top of it, like it's too big. And then I just suddenly thought, I was like, right, like fuck it, I like I'm going on this next set, like I don't care, like don't care how big it is, like I'm going, you know. So I thought I'm gonna go on the second wave of the set, and I was like the only person on the peak as well, so I kind of had the choice. There was like no one else in, but there was skis in the channel, so I was like, I had this sort of like thing, someone will probably pick me up if I get drilled, and like let the first one go, and then the second one came, and it was still today probably like the best paddle wave I've caught.
Oh wow.
Just head down and just like paddle straight into it. And I think it was just having that like that sort of like click of like, right, like no matter what, like it's calculated, but like you've got to also be like, right, I'm going, like I'm not messing about. Yeah. Got it. And like made the bottom turn and like sort of came to the inside bowl and kind of just pulled into like a pretty big like barrel, and then I came out, I like fell at the very end, but I like came out the wave and like hit. I thought I'd made it, and I hit the like that like I think they call it like the cheese grater, where it's like all like horrible at the end, and I like flew off, but I'd already kind of like made the wave. And then after that point, I remember like getting out, and I was like, my mum was actually filming. She was on that trip with us, and I was like, I'm gonna be a big wave surfer.
Of that one still?
Yeah, I got it.
Well, we need that to overlay on this.
And, then I remember I was actually ended up in an argument because we were on the ferry on the way home, and I was like to my mum, I was like, right, I want to be a big wave surfer, and I'm going to Nazare next season. And she was just like, whoa, like, you know, calm down, like that's not your level yet. And I was like, look, like I'll be fine, you know, like I know what I need to do. And like I think like, you know, I just like put my mind to it and thought like not letting stuff get in the way. I'm gonna like do what I need to do, train, like get my equipment, and then from there, after that island stint, I sort of just prepared through the summer, managed to like get a jet ski and equipment, and then I just sort of like went to Nazare. When I arrived in Nazare,
just bought a one-way ticket, sold all my stuff.
You know, I think like sometimes with stuff like this, like you just kind of need to like go for it, you know, and like. Of course, like you don't want to, you know, go for it if you don't feel ready or you don't like you're not prepared. But for me, like I just felt like, you know, I was ready. I felt fit, and like I felt like I had the ability. So I was just like, you know, not really like. I think sometimes what holds people back is like they'll often like worry about like you know what other people are thinking and stuff like that, and like like what'll everyone think, like, and I don't really like let that bother me. You know, I was just like, I'm going to Nazare. I'm trying to become a big wave surfer. Like that's it. So I went over there, and like Cotty helped me out like a lot, just with kind of like, you know, set me up with the right crew. He put me in touch with a really good jet ski driver called Alamo.
That's literally what I was going to ask you, because I think that's, again, something that's slightly overlooked. And maybe just explain to people, unlike just regular surfing, whether it be at a high level or a low level of surfing, for big wave surfing, it's not just about you, is it, as a surfer? It's about the team and the people around you and all the kit and equipment and the expertise you require. So what is that? What does that look like, and how hard is it to even get immersed into that?
Yeah, you're totally right. And like I was saying, when I say you wanna go for it, that's correct. But you also do need to have a plan in place. It's not like you just think, I'm just going to charge out to Nazare with my jet ski and hope for the best. You know what I mean?
Or let Jamie O'Brien throw me.
But yeah, Nazare, you've really got to learn to work in a bit of a team. And yeah, this winter when I got out there, I said to Cotty, my biggest sort of goal for this winter, of course it was on the surfing as well, but I wanted to become a good jet ski driver. I've still got a little bit of work to do on this, but I've definitely become pretty decent and a lot better than when I first went out, because I'd never really had any practice riding jet skis. And out in Nazare, it's mainly focused, most of the time it's more of a tow wave in my opinion than a paddle wave. So when I got out there, I said to Cotty, I was like, would you maybe do some training with me, or do you know anyone that could put me in that you could put me in touch with? And he put me in touch with a guy called Alamo, who's really, really good, one of the best ski drivers in the world. And he often tows with Shumbo and Sebastian on the really big days. People will pay him to take them. And so I basically did a chunk of coaching with him, and that was really good. And then I started just surfing and towing with Ben quite a little bit. And then me and Ben were surfing a bit together, and my friend Vinny, and it just sort of went like that. And I think what the important thing is, obviously, just when you get out there, respecting the guys that have been there, a long time, and letting them have their waves, and training with a good squad, and just always putting safety first, because obviously it can turn pretty everything can be so chill out there, and then all of a sudden it'll be something really bad's going on. And I fortunately didn't have any crazy bad situations this winter. I did I've lost a brand new tow board in the cave and stuff like that, and I had a few drillings, but nothing too bad. But of course, I've seen lots of footage of when stuff goes wrong.
I think I've all seen that. It's pretty horrendous.
I think it's pretty important to have a bit of a at least a little bit of a network out there, I think when I went out, I was like, let's just go. And then when I actually got out there, I realized it's not just the surfing, and because I think you don't necessarily you need a good ability, but if you just want to ride a wave at Nazare, it's nothing it's nothing that you don't need to be Kelly Slater, but the logistics of knowing exactly what to do when you fall off, when someone's coming to collect you, when you lose your board to the beach, being able to get in, navigate the shore break, bring your board back to the ski, picking other people up on the ski, towing in correctly, just all the actual, what I got taught is kind of learning the whole overall picture of it, rather than just surfing Nazare. It's the ski driving, it's the rescues, it's the safety, it's the spotters on the cliff, it's the whole thing. Yeah.
So on what you said earlier in this part, two-part question really. How important is Andrew Cotton to UK surfers going out there, and what does he bring to it? And second part of that question is, how does he deal with two younger lads that go on a night out?
Definitely don't make noise when they come back in.
Yeah, well, Cotty's obviously a legend, he's for sure the best and probably most well-known UK surfer, and obviously really well-known on an international level. I feel like everyone likes Cotty, and he's been super helpful, for myself, and I think he's helped my friend Ben a lot, and because there's not many of us that do it from the UK really, and I think it's nice that Cotty's kind of a little bit, I guess, took us under his wing and helped us out with I know this winter I was borrowing bits and pieces of equipment, because when you first get into this, it's a lot of it's a lot of expense, when you're trying to get your jet skis, your tow boards, and everything else. One tow board with your straps and your fins is near €1,000 or something. So it all adds up. So for me, especially when I was starting, I was like lending a lot of kit, you know, like sleds and tow boards and tow ropes and all sorts, you know. So, you know, I definitely probably wouldn't have been able to get where I've got so far, especially this season, without, you know, Cotty's help and point of direction. So I definitely owe him a pint or 100 for that.
It's funny this, because I feel like I was about to say, everybody I know that surfs Nazare with Cotty, what I mean is you and Ben. Like, it's like a rite of way, like a rite of passage that everyone's just borrowing Cotty's kit.
Well, I was going to say, if that works, I'm going to work out if I can go out to Nazare and borrow you to surf the wave for me, and then I can just say I've surfed it.
Oh, right, yeah. So, and it's great. I think Cotty must be by far as well the most followed surfer in UK history. He's got a massive subscription across his channels, and it's great to see again, you know, it's a little island in the UK producing all these massive names doing these huge things. It's great, and it's great to give you somebody, I guess he's a bit of a father figure in surfing, probably just getting annoyed at you and Ben.
Yeah, you know,
turn this car right around. You're not going surfing, no.
Totally though, I totally agree, and I think he's like, you know, he's definitely like an inspiration for all of us younger crew coming up in the big wave scene, and you know, like we did a good trip, myself, Ben and Cotty, over to Ireland this year, and that was actually a crazy swell. He put up with us too for about 4 days. And,
was this a night out you were telling us about?
No. Me and Ben just went for a bit of a night out and came back one night and woke the whole house up. But it was all right. You know?
It was fine.
Just
it was absolutely
shits and gigs, you know. But yeah, we had a great trip to Ireland, and like we both got like really good waves, and probably it was for sure like my best tow wave, and probably the best big wave I think I've caught this winter was over in Ireland. And we were all surfing. I'd been like having a bit of a rest in the channel for a bit of a period, and just towards the end of a session, like kind of like guys started coming in because the tide was getting a little bit high, and Cotty was like, "Anyone want one more?" And I was like, "Oh, I'll have one," you know. And it like this like big set came, and sometimes it's quite hard to get the set waves because obviously like the locals guys, which are all, you know, super nice and really like cool of them to share the waves, but you know, of course, as it is, like they're gonna want their set waves, which is if, like anywhere, it's totally fine, you know. And I think like someone just like, I don't know who was in front of me, but someone like just tripped up like as they were like coming out of the water on the tow rope, and like it's like go. So like last minute, like I was like waiting for the next wave, all chill, and then it was all of a sudden like go. Turn around, there's like a 40-footer. I'm like, blooming heck. And he just like towed me into this wave, and like just got down it, and I'd been surfing for a while, like just down it for a while. I was like, it's pretty chunky, you know. And I like set my line, and I like went along, and I just saw like the inside bull coming, and I thought, I was like, God, I am gonna get like smashed, you know, like I am done, you know, like. And just at the last minute, I pulled up and like got like a pretty big barrel. It wasn't like the longest barrel ever, but it was like a real big section came over, and I like just made it out, and then like Ben and a few other guys were in the channel all like screaming, and I was just like, it was like such a good moment, you know, like right at the end of the day I was just buzzing, and then I was like, all right, let's get another one, and like Ben's like, no, just call it now, like, because it's always the one more wave where you just go and like, you know, like knock yourself, you know,
like I guess like a turn and burn, we'd probably call it in regular surfing, like you just decide to go out of nowhere as opposed to sitting planning. For me, and I'm wondering how your mindset sits, being such a big wave and so consequential, but for me the turn and burns end up being generally a better wave because I've not had time to think about what I'm going to do. I'm just doing. I wonder if the principles kind of are the same, or did it just make it worse and you were like, oh fuck, I fucked it.
Well, people ask me about this. I've had like this question a couple of times actually, like what's your mindset and stuff before you surf a big wave, and I guess for everyone it's going to be like kind of different, but for myself, like you're just pretty calm, you know. Of course your adrenaline's going to get going a bit before you're like going into a big set, but you're definitely staying like pretty calm, and you kind of, for me, I'm just kind of thinking about like what I might do on the wave before I surf it, because I feel like of course you can't predict the wave and how it's going to be, but if you can like mentally prepare for the situation that's going to be like in front of you a little bit, your body like sometimes will just do it, you know. So
just looking for the rescue ski the whole time.
So like,
I don't know why you're looking at me like I know what it's like to surf a big wave.
Oh yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah.
So Yeah, so I just stay pretty calm, and then like honestly, when you're on the wave, like most of the time, whether it's Nazare or Island, like you're pretty much just in that moment. Like you're not really thinking of much, to be honest. Like I always remember asking my friend Taz about this when I first got to Island, and he was like, honestly, Loui, you're going so fast, you don't have time to think about anything. You're just hanging on, you know? And I was like, and that's pretty much it. You're pretty much just in the moment. You actually stay like I'm always more nervous before the wave than when I'm actually like on the wave.
Yeah.
Obviously, you're surfing. You just try to stay calm, thinking about your wave, and you're just kind of in that moment and just go with it. That's what I do anyway. And like I saw from like the footage back, like the lines I've taken, I've been like happy with. I thought, all right, like, you know, of course you've always got room for improvement, but I thought like, all right, that was a good line that I pulled up there. And they're just kind of like natural instincts that you do in the moment. Of course, you can pre-plan a little bit before, and then as it happens, hopefully you'll just do that, you know.
So on that, of like you're saying pre-planning, but you're in the moment. What's the, obviously you can't do on a big wave the sort of stuff you do on small waves,
unless you're Kai Lenny.
Well, there is that, but still, So what is your mindset before that? I know you said like you're always more nervous before, but what are you thinking about on big waves? It's like, you know, if you're gonna do something out here and you know it's a decent sized day, but you're like, oh, I could do this, I could do that, whatever. Or as well, I'm like longboarding, I could go, right, I might try cross step. I might just try and stand up.
Might try and catch it.
Yeah, might try and catch a wave. But yeah, so what's the mindset beforehand on the two different types of waves? So when you go into a smaller set, what are you thinking of, like, oh, what I could do on this wave? And then when you're going into a big wave, what's your mindset before thinking? What are you thinking? Oh, I could do this, I could try that. Because I think for anybody out there, which is probably 99% of people listening that haven't surfed big waves, I wouldn't even know where to start. Apart from just fucking go straight and just go. that's is what all I could think of it.
No, yeah, it's a very good question, and I think in small waves or big waves, you can have like sort of different mindsets going into it, and like I think like even when it's small on a small day, I mean, you guys will both know as well, you can go out and you can just surf and where you're just surfing in the moment, or you can go out and you can think, I want to work on cross stepping, or I want to work on doing an air reverse today. Do you know? So you can sort
Which
of,
is where my mind goes.
Like you can you can go and like work on specific things, or you can just sort of free surf and go with the flow. And I like to do both when it's small, because it's just like, you know, sometimes I want to be trying to work on a little trick, and sometimes you're just out with your mates having a laugh and just surfing, which is just nice. And so I think both is cool to do. In big waves, you usually want to have a bit more of like okay, like what's my plan today, you know, like like am I gonna go for a 50, 60, 70 footer, or, you know, like and about being in the moment. A lot of the time when it's big, for this season anyway, I feel like I was pushing myself, but I wasn't doing anything like, you know, too sort of like like a trick, which I think would be out of my ability, because it's like, you know, you've got the whole season to last. You don't want to necessarily do something that's gonna like risk you breaking your leg for your whole season. Yeah, exactly, you know. That's what I was saying to my mum, like on the last one of the season. She was like, you better not break your leg just in time for the season, for the surf school. I was like, I'm just going to pull into a giant closeout, supervise from the beach. But yeah, I think when it's big, for me, I was sort of I'd usually have a bit of a plan. When it's like big but smaller, I'd be like working on, all right, I want to work on my calves today. And this like came as I was surfing a bit more and getting more comfortable with the whole thing in Nazare. I'd think, right, I want to work on my calves today, or I want to try get a barrel. I'd usually have something in mind. When it got really big, I'd mainly just be, for me at the minute, just focusing on just like making the wave and turning and going along. As I've been watching guys like, you know, like to me, like Lucas Shumbo, he's probably like the best big wave surfer in the world, I reckon. And you know, it was cool. What's so great about Nazare is like you get to like obviously like meet those guys, and you know, like you just sort of see them kicking about on a regular, which is pretty cool. But like when you watch him surf and stuff and see what he's doing in the bit, like in big stuff, he's like surfing big waves, like it's like a 6 foot wave, you know, and like being able to like see that, that's like what like drives me, and like to think, oh, like I want to be able to surf, like I don't know if I'll ever quite be able to surf like that, but that's the direction where I want to like push towards. And rather than just going straight down a big wave, like doing a bottom turn, massive carve, like a barrel, like coming off the back, doing backflips and all that, you know, like.
And how hard is that to see? Like, obviously, it's important to have something inspirational to lean towards or to reach towards. But when you're just hanging on, going left or right and whatever it is on an absolute monster and hoping you make the bottom and then kick off the back, and then you see these people like Chumbo and all these other guys and girls that are out there charging, and they're surfing it, like you said, like they're in a CT heat on a smaller wave. You're like, what the fuck? How am I supposed? Like, I thought I was doing amazing till I saw you just land in air off the lip. Is it tough to see, or do you think it's achievable?
Yeah, I mean, like, it's for sure, like, I think it's definitely achievable, but it's like, if you watch him on a small day just surfing, like, he's like an incredible shortboarder as well, so you know, like, he does have that ability. But I think just having the read on those like big waves, and I think there's multiple factors to it. You've obviously got your surfing, you've got your confidence, and you've got like your equipment as well. Like, being like really in tune with your equipment's like definitely also key to try help you obviously get in that direction. And doing that's quite hard to begin with, especially because, like, you know, like for myself right now, you know, I'm super fortunate to be able to spend the winters out in Nazare, but it's not like I can just go and buy like, I'll just get like 10 toe boards, or like get 10 toe boards for free and try them all out, see which one's better, tweak them a little bit. It's kind of like, you know, toe boards are pretty expensive. You've got to like just get 2 or 3 and then like roll with them for that season.
And if you could get 10 free toe boards, who would you want to get them from?
Ooh, maybe like, you know, my last boards were like a Dylan boards. They're pretty good. But I'd like to try out like some SBO toe boards and some some Shapeland toe boards as well. They look pretty good. So I'd actually kind of like to try maybe a few different brands and just see which one's go.
It's funny because looking at this gun, for anyone listening, I'm looking at the fishtail on the bottom of it, and the only way I can describe how narrow it is, it literally looks like a penny skateboard. It's that narrow. Like, I mean, the board itself, I think it must be narrower than all my short boards. What's that like?
Do you know what? I don't actually know the...
that must be like 18, 17. That's so narrow.
Do you know what? You'll probably be quite surprised because of the whole size of it when you actually like...
No, but it's sitting next to that, and that looks much fatter. Than that short board.
But I think like when I got this board made, like Mark Lascelles from Cord made me this board, and... It's I haven't had it out as much as I wanted to this winter, you know. I had my goal of kind of just getting involved in Nazare and working on that. But I'm gonna really get going on this bad boy this winter.
But out here.
Oh yeah, I've surfed it plenty of times. Yeah, man. Well, if you think you want to test it out just on like a small day before you're paddling into a 40-footer, you know.
Even the longboarders getting pissed off with you, like no arm taking off again.
What they do, like, I think the way the you know, I don't know like the ins and out of like board shaping, but I think what they've been trying to do is like put the thickness kind of in the center of the surfboard so that you've still got your paddle power and up front, but then like pull in the tail and thin out the rails a little bit so that you can really you can catch those giant waves, but you can also knife and pull into the barrels, you know, because like you've obviously got waves like Waimea or somewhere where it's just a big straight drop and you kind of want to go as fast as you can, but I feel like now people at Waimea, you know, they're looking for the barrel, so like being able to have that paddle power but also have the like ability to be able to cut into the wave and like pull in. And like this board especially was like kind of for like mainly like mully, which is like obviously a pretty hollow wave. So we'll try that, and I'll definitely get more boards off them for sure and see how they go.
So it might be a stupidly obvious question, but
here we go.
So like the variation of like day to day that you go out here of like, you know, or even in the same day anywhere, I think surfing around the UK, the waves are massively different. When you're going to big wave surfing, obviously the swell and everything's got to be a certain power to generate those bigger waves. Is there still that massive variation of difference, or is it more of a smaller window is what I'm trying to say on the... So when you get to a big wave, is there a smaller window of variation of what you're surfing than you are, say you're surfing?
Oh, what do you mean? Like, do you get like a week big day? Like
yeah. So you know, you could look out here and you could go, oh, it's 3 foot, but you go to paddle for it and there's just no power in it, and then next day it's 2 foot, but they're like bang. Like, is that the same in big waves, or because it's generating so much power to make that bigger wave, is it the same?
I've got you. Yeah. So I think most of the time. in Nazare, it's always pretty powerful. Like pretty much most of the time. I think just the way the way the canyon is and just all the water that comes in. I think regardless of how big, there's always going to be a lot of power there. And I think what's been really good this winter is I've started like reading the kilojoules. I don't know if you guys have seen that on the. I think it's kilojoules, just like the wave energy on the forecast, and that's like pretty helpful, and that does vary for sure.
It just sounds like something else in the water that's going to kill me.
The way you said it, I thought it was a book. That's why I didn't click straight away.
And when you're checking the report, obviously like the wave energy is definitely affected. So if it's like a 20-foot day but only like a 12-second period, so I think the period will often affect the power of the wave. So if it's like 12-second period, it might only have like, I don't know, 8,000 or 10,000 kilojoules at Nazare. But if it's like, like a 17, 18 second period, it might be like 25, 20, maybe like more like 20,000 kilojoules. So it might be like similar size, but I think it could definitely be more powerful, just like a small day.
For clarity, we get about 800 generally.
I know. Well, one day I was like looking at I didn't actually surf this day, but it was that like giant like onshore day, at the end of the season, and I was over in Nazare, and I just sort of competed in the Gigantes de Nazare event and had a good time doing that. And like the next day there was like a real big swell, and I maybe had the opportunity to surf. Like I didn't definitely have because when it's that big, you need like the best to tow you. Like someone like Alamo, you can't like, myself or the guys I train with and stuff, they're great, but when it like gets that big, you need a proper team. Like you can't just have like two of you need like 3
This'll do. That's
a proper.
No. Jet skis going.
That's a proper. I trust you, but not this much.
It's like when you go rock climbing, you've got the guy on the belay at the bottom going, I won't drop you, honest, and you go, wait. You let him drop a bit.
But like the guys surfing that day, there'd pretty much be like one person towing, like I think like say Alamo was towing Chumbo, and then there'd be like 2 or 3 safety skis as well. So and like Alamo did say, you could maybe come out with us if you want tomorrow. And like for me, it was the end of the season, and I'd had a great season. I'd caught all the waves I'd want, and I'd like accomplished everything I want. And I just thought, right, end of the season, I'm gonna just like, I'm happy just watching this one. I think I got sidetracked from the kilojoules there, but the kilojoules on that day, right, were like, or their wave energy was something like, it was like 35,000 or something like that. And
that's just stupid.
But I think in the big waves, like just knowing, I guess you've got this gut feeling and knowing your capabilities. Like you've got to have that approach of, fuck it, let's go. But you also want to have like, you don't want to just be an idiot and maybe just like, you've got to like gradually build up to stuff, not just risk it all.
Because I think that sort of question comes from like, you can imagine saying, oh, how was your surf out here? Oh, it was sloppy, messy, choppy. Yeah, how was your Nazare? Oh, it was sloppy, messy, choppy. It never sort of works out like that. You're not going to go out there when it's like that. So that's what I meant. Is there like a, that sort of similar consistency to that? The time, obviously, the times you can surf it.
But I suppose if you're doing a jet ski assist, you're probably not noticing on takeoff, right? Because your momentum's coming from, you're already surfing technically. Yeah,
totally. I mean, I think like it's pretty much just similar to like checking the beach. It's like you check the waves. It's obviously usually a bit bigger, but like we got like a 2-week.
bigger.
But you got like this season in Nazare, like we had like a 2-week run of swell where it was just pumping every day. And it was like some days were bigger, some days were a bit smaller. It's like just totally varies. Some days were more powerful, some days were a little bit more weaker and chill. Some days were bumpy, some days were windy. It's exactly the same, really, but it's just on a giant scale.
Not surfing big waves per se myself. It's just the fact that I never really thought about it until then. Like if it varies that much, because the amount of different shit we've surfed in, the times we've surfed together, like the different amount of waves and crap we've surfed in.
But it's that you think you're turning up for a head high wave, and you turn up and it's like, I don't know, 1.5 feet, and you're like, oh, for fuck's sake, this is rubbish. And you're doing that because it's only 15 foot as opposed to 40.
Well, the thing is though, right, with Nazare, I tell you what, when it's small, it's such a fun beach break.
Oh,
like,
is it?
Yeah, like
I wouldn't
like,
go out in Nazare on a flat day.
Yeah,
just
would,
in
man,
case
you'd be all right.
one rogue set came. I know it would take me as well.
But honestly, like I've had like some of the best surfs just on that beachy there, and
Okay.
it's like a good. For me, it was a really good place this winter just to be set up because you've got like, of course, Nazare, which was my main goal, but you've got Peniche, which is 40 minutes away. You've got Nazare Beachy when it's small. Like I was just in the water all the time, all winter, you know, and I think that's what's great about it. It's like quite sunny, you know. There's a lot of crew kicking about to hang out with, and there's good waves, big, small.
What I'm curious about with Nazare, and I was chatting to Ben about this the other day. Obviously, it's a super, as we just described with the kilojoules. It's a powerful wave. It's a big wave, therefore it's a fast wave. So I just wanted to talk about speed, because I think it was a great movie for Keanu Reeves. It's one of his most underrated movies, and Sandra Bullock in that. Wow. No, but Ben said to me, you surf, it's about 60 miles an hour on a bigger wave. I don't know what the accuracy of that is. And as I recall, and I'm going to have to make this stat up because I can't remember what it was, it used to be said that Mick Fannin was the fastest surfer on tour, as in being able to generate his own speed.
Yeah, I remember.
And I think it was something like 18 miles an hour he was able to generate, which is fucking fast. But if 60 is right, even if it's 50, even if it's 40 miles an hour going down a face, I don't know how you can control that, for one. But try and describe to the listeners, what does that actually feel like? And also, what does it feel like when you're just looking down at that thing? Or is it quite shallow? Is it quite slopey?
The good thing with towing is you are like already down the wave when you're towed in, kind of.
I suppose. Sorry, on a part of that, first of all, what speed are you when you're going on a jet ski? Does that have the speedo on it? What speed you're going to tow someone in? Yeah, no, because I just thought that gives you a good generation of starting.
So the jet skis go pretty quick. Like. You probably wouldn't want to be going this fast in the water, but you can hit like 100. The jet skis are in kilometers per hour. That like you can definitely get to like 100, 110 kilometers an hour if you're just bolting it on the flat.
When you're towing someone
you're towing someone in, you don't necessarily want to be going that quick. You just want to be going the right speed to be able to put them in the right place on the wave and at the right time with the right amount of speed for them to leave your tow rope and go down the wave. So sometimes like you're just going to go, if it's a smaller wave you'd be going a little bit slower. If it's a bigger wave you'd probably go a little bit quicker because the wave will be coming a little bit faster. It's really like that was the most challenging thing for me, was learning all the towing this winter, because it's really hard to like get someone right in the right position on the jet ski when they're like, I don't know how long a tow it was, like 20 foot behind the jet ski,
right?
When you're going down the wave, like you're going pretty quick, and I think one of the scary things when you're towing is like when you hit bumps. Like I've had a couple wipeouts where you're going down and you just hit a bump, and like sometimes if you get lucky you like go over the back or you can swim underneath it, but it's like that dreaded feeling when you're just going super fast and you hit a bump and you always like do like a couple of cartwheels and you're just like waiting for like this bus to land on your head, and just it's like you'll either like get under the wave or if not, it's just like the wipeouts at Nazare are like super powerful. But you go, I don't know the speed, but you're going like really, really quick, and I think a lot of the time, unless it's like a super clean wave, you're just focusing. Well, I know I was this winter just focusing on just like making it to the bottom of the wave and surfing the wave. And, you're looking down the line in the direction you want to go, but you're also looking at like the surface water and the bumps in front of you, which you've sometimes got to navigate as well. So there's a lot going on. And I think that's when you're just like automatic sort of...
experience comes in then, doesn't it?
Yeah, and like, it was great like to see... there's a ton of great surfers out there. My friend like Clement was like super good, like amazing to watch, and he's a kite surfer and a foiler and a wing surfer, and he's like really, really good at, I noticed it, like navigating the chop, and he's also one of the best surfers out there in my opinion. And just watching him, and I think because he's had so much practice just at all the different sports and reading the waves and the water and the surface water, like that comes into play, So I guess just like you're saying, the experience of just being on the water helps with all of that.
You know, because it's so big. You know, riding a normal size wave, like a normal humanoid would do, there's obviously a right place to be on the wave, you know, near the socket, which is a combination of pocket and socket. Right in the shoulder where the power is, so you're able to generate speed and do whatever you want to do. But I guess on a bigger wave, there's different elements of danger. I suppose if you're at the top, you can at least kick off. But I don't know, maybe, is there a right place to be on the wave? Or
Well, there's definitely like a lot of different probably opinions about like where exactly you should be towed in, and of course it varies from wave to wave, but you basically like you don't want to be left right at the top, because like, you know, that's if you like right at the top of the wave, sometimes you can like, I don't know, the wave, if you're not going fast enough, the wave can catch you up, or you also, when you're like right at the top, often have to like navigate a lot of chop on the wave.
Right.
For me personally, I like to sort of be towed behind the peak, and like sort of like, so you can see the peak in front of you, and you get towed in almost like across the wave more, rather than being like towed directly down it. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah,
so imagine, so you're going like, of course you're going still sort of at an angle, but you're going across the wave and also down at the same time, rather than kind of someone towing you directly straight into the wave, because then you come behind the peak, you've got the, you know, the big surge and peak of water in front of you. And then it's up to you what you want to do. Do you want to fade? If you want to just keep going straight, you can kind of surf past it. And it's up to you how much you push it. And, you know, I definitely probably got a little bit like carried away thinking, like I've got the hang of this, you know. And, you know, like Ben towed me into one, towed me in the perfect spot. You know, he's an amazing jet ski driver, Ben. And I learned a lot of him this winter. And he like towed me in, and I was like, just super relaxed, like big fade just to the bottom. And I just got like off peak 1, which is kind of like you've got peak 1, peak 2, peak 3, sort of peak. Sometimes people call it peak 0, which is almost like right in front of the rocks, and they're the positionings along the different peaks of the beach. Yeah. And towed me into one, faded too much, and I just got absolutely like so drilled, you know. And like I actually wasn't under for that long, luckily, but like just the like it's so violent, you know, just like it feels like it's like ripping your legs into like different pieces, you know, and then I sort of just felt myself getting like I was like really, really violent for about, I don't know, maybe the wipeout was probably 15 seconds, I'd say. It wasn't like crazy, but when you're getting like absolutely drilled, like it feels longer. Just getting smashed in all directions, like it feels like your arms and your legs are getting blown off, and then you sort of get sometimes anyway. On this one, I just felt myself just sort of like just getting like sucked down, which is when I like pulled my vest, and so I pulled the vest, and like the vests are great. They like, you know, I think I must have been quite deep, because when I was coming up, I was thinking like, all right, I'm ready to take a breath now, and I'm still coming up, and then I was like plumbing out, came up, got a breath, and like Ben's a really good driver, and he like picked me up. There was like a second wave coming as well, but it's like if you I have had this as well, but when you get like 4 or 5 waves on the head, that's when you start to get tired. You know, like you guys would easily be able to handle a wipeout in Nazare.
You say you guys will easily die. That's what I was waiting for.
Wholeheartedly agree with that.
I feel like anyone can really hold the breath for like, of course you need to be ready, but like, you know, breath holding wise, you know, anyone can hold the breath for 15-20 seconds, which is what most of the wipeouts on a sort of small to average day would be.
It's not panicking though, isn't it?
It's not panicking, it's staying calm, and it's sort of the thing I found hard, which got me one time, was like I got like 7 waves, 8 waves on the head, like washed all the way to the beach, and by the end, I mean, they were still pretty chunky, but it's just that repetition of doing like, all right, 15 seconds, all right, back up, all right, another 15 seconds, and then you back up, and then you quick break, and then it's like, because sometimes, I mean, I'd had a pretty lucky run all season, and then just towards like the end of the season, I got a proper like drill into the beach, you know, and I think that was good though. I'm pleased it happened, because like I know I can I know I can handle it, and I've also like adapted my like breath training a little bit to that, and start doing stuff in the pool where I'll like do lengths underwater, come up, give myself like a 10 second rest, and then go again like a length underwater, that sort of thing. I did a bit of like pool training when I was in Nazare with a guy called Jojo, who was like amazing, and got a few like tips off him. But I think sometimes like until you've actually been in the moment and experienced it happen, you can't like adapt your training or your mindset to that, you know, until it's happened to you. Because you see it happen, you're like, it's all right, man. Like, yeah, it'll be all right. And then it happens to you, you're like,
I think I think every surfer's got that one wave where they remember that, you know, the worst hold down, whatever it might be, or wipe out. And, you know, I've always said this. I've got 3 seconds of breath in me at any given time, right? So I started working with a company called Aerofit, and to be fair,
so I've seen those. They look great.
Amazing, yeah, amazing. This isn't just some like resistance thing. This is proper science. You know, it's worked out. And it's not. You don't just sit and breathe again for resistance. There's so many programs, and it works amazing. But I've dropped off at loads, and I can feel the difference. And my breath hold had got up to a minute, which for most people is probably really poor, but for me was amazing. But then on top of that, a lot of people when they do breath training work, and they say, "Oh, how long can you hold your breath?" It's normally they've sat in practice. They've got the breathing down, and then they've got a huge inhale, and then they've held their breath. But then actually in reality, when you need to hold your breath, you've just worked your bollocks off, you're on an exerted breath, and you've not even had the chance sometimes to take a breath. That's where the training element comes in. So when I think I can hold my breath for 3 seconds at any given time, when I've sat and practiced and got my breathing rhythm right, I've not taken that into account.
Totally. I think as well, like a static breath hold's great, and doing like I don't really know what you call it, but your breath hold repetitions where you like you know, say you hold or you swim for like 30 seconds underwater, and then you give yourself a break and you go again. They're like 2 separate sides of training for your breath, you know. And like I think for myself, I got up to like a 3-minute breath hold at one point, static. But then when I'd go in the pool and I'd practice trying to do, say, like, I don't know, like a length underwater, give yourself 10 seconds and then go again, or variations around that, I'd be like knackered, you know. And I'd be like, and the thing is, for me, they simulate what it's like more than just being able to do a static breath hold, you know. Because like when you're big wave surfing, you don't get to lie there hyperventilating for like a few minutes and then you know, just do one big hold down. It's like the reality is you might get 5-6 waves on the head, and you're up, you're under, you're up, and you need to be able to get as much oxygen in, release as much carbon dioxide. And
I was just thinking about that on the breath hold and on that side of it. When you wipe out something like Nazare and the waves are massive above you, like the deeper you go into water, the more the pressure builds up.
So the pressure on your lungs is immediate.
So that's what I mean. You're just going. So say you come off near the bottom of the wave at Nazare, and then the wave travels over you. You're instantly put into that,
like 30 foot, 40 foot worth of.
For sure, there's a lot of pressure down there. And one mistake I sort of made this year was I fell off, got a good drill in, didn't pull my vest on the first wave. Second wave came like pretty like just straight on the head, and I was just like, oh god. It's that moment where you look and you're just like, oh god, you know, like
oh yeah, I know the feeling.
What am I doing in here? You know what I mean? Like you look around for your friend on the jet ski, he's just nowhere to be seen, and you're just like,
he's just texting.
So anyway, next wave came and I was like, got proper drilled, pulled the vest. Now what you got to think about when you pull the vest is obviously it inflates. It's like a lot of air goes into the vest, and that air underwater, obviously with the added pressure, can be really tight on you. So you're pretty much supposed to go under the water, get a bit of a drill in, wait till you kind of like wait a little bit till the waves kind of like, you know, blasted you a bit, then pull it when you're sort of ready to come up.
I'd be pulling it as a jet ski takes off. Just in case.
But on the second, so I pulled it, came back up, the third wave came, and really, I think it's better to like deflate your vest, because what happened was I didn't deflate my vest, and the next wave came and it pulled me quite far down again.
Right.
And just the pressure of all the air around on the vest was like really pushing in on like my ribs and stuff, and it was almost like painful under the water just from the sheer amount of pressure.
Does it deflate as quick as it inflates?
It deflates pretty quick. Yeah, you just pull it.
Right, okay.
You've got like 4 canisters in, so you've got 4 pulls. For pull them up. I have heard stories of people going like so deep they've actually pulled like all the canisters. When we went over to Ireland, we actually went round to Nathan Florence's house, which was like sick because like obviously he's like a just leaves. He's like you know, like an idol for me, and I think he's like, you know, he's pretty much the best big wave surfer, paddle surfer in the world for sure. And he was doing an interview, and we were just listening, and he said like he pulled like all 4 canisters at Mully, or like like as many as he could get, and it's still because of the pressure when he pulled them under the water. He was so deep that the air didn't like inflate the vest, so he actually just had to like swim up. And it's pretty gnarly.
After you've pulled 4 canisters, you've not gone anywhere. You're like, well, my choices are swim.
I don't know if it's like I don't know if the vest was faulty or whether it was the pressure. I can't quite remember, but I remember him saying like he pulled and it didn't do anything, and he had to like swim up from pretty much.
Is
the
water clear at Mully and Nazare actually?
Yeah, like it just depends. Like Mully, it's often quite Mully and Nazare is like usually super clear most of the time.
But it's so deep, it's probably pitch black.
I mean, you're not really opening your eyes, having a little look around when you're down there.
That's my old board.
There it is. It's in the cave. No, you're usually just like in survival mode at that point, you know. But yeah, I pulled my vest and it was just like super, super tight on me, and it was almost like hurting my insides, and I don't know, like that's one thing I just like never even really like researched about. I was like, I just pull it and then it, but like fine, you know, one thing
you don't think till it happens.
You don't think, no, and like, you know, I was always asking questions, you know, I'd never be shy about like you know, being new to the season and being like, oh, what do you think on this? What do you think on that? Boards. And the one thing I'd like, especially this season, I was just speaking to whoever I could and asking for as much like advice and knowledge from anyone really. And that's one thing I didn't really ever like think about was the vest, you know, and I definitely realized that it's, if you've got another big one coming, like it's probably best to deflate your vest, and then re-inflate it again. Also,
don't use them in a really tight shower room when you've somehow got one hand stuck inside the vest, and then pull it with the other hand and nobody comes to get you. That's my mate. That happened to him.
I should have brought a vest, actually.
That would have been cool, yeah.
I'd say one last question on Nazare is when you see two last, because Mitch has obviously got one as well. So when you see people being like towed in after they've got a wave, or someone's been coming to pick you up, the jet ski's coming to pick you up, the thing that I always feel about that, watching it, is you see them like flying off and this white water's coming over behind them, and the surfer on the tow behind, or whatever the sled thing behind is like covered in this white water. And I'm thinking, how are they breathing then? Because some of them are going for ages and they're in that. And I know what it's like being in white water, and you can't breathe because it's just like bubbles of air and water in it. So what's that bit like of it?
Yeah, it's pretty intense hanging on the back of the sled. Like
for your life.
I guess like, people don't really realize, but when you're hanging on the sled, like, you know, your arms, your back, like everything, like it's like really quite physical, you know, like because the speed the jet ski's going, and you're like clinging on and you're clinging really tight. Like you'll often have really sore like forearms from your from the tow rope, and also like just getting on the sled. Like after a big day of surfing, your body's just like knackered. But when you're next to that white water, most of the time there's like kind of like it's kind of just splashing over you, so you can usually breathe. However, I know like sometimes when I like pull into a barrel or something and I feel like I'm about to get drilled, I'll do like a little like just in case I get drilled, and then if I make it, then like a little like then like another little breath, you know, just to make sure you've got a little bit. Like,
but you don't then forget to breathe.
It's always a bit of a fear, like getting drilled and not getting a breath in. Like that always scares me a bit, you know. Like
I forget to breathe watching TV sometimes. I get so into it like that.
No, I think breathing's good, man. And like even like I got on this little routine of just when I'd go out on the jet ski, like at Nazare, my friend sort of Vinny used to do it, so I just started doing it too. Was like just like cruising out for just 5 minutes and just breathing, you know, just big breaths, just like, you know, and just doing that a bit of time and just filling your body and your muscles full of oxygen. And I think that helps, you know, because then it like, I feel like it kind of allows you to then be able to take more oxygen when you do a breath.
Yeah.
So somebody do a mitochondria apparently. I don't know. I don't really know what. But
imagine getting the bends from like just paddling back up from a wipeout. That's a brutal state of affairs. So 2 last questions about Nazare. So I thought of another one. Firstly, you already explained how violent, or you mentioned how violent the wipeouts were, but maybe just explain that a little bit more, because again, we've all had big wipeouts we think are brutal. We think, I don't want to be part of that again. I've been told since I started surfing, learn to enjoy the tumble cycle, and I just can't. I fucking hate it. But how violent actually is that when it's a big wave and it's right on the head? Yeah,
it's wipeouts at Nazare or Island or pretty much any big wave spot are usually like really, really violent. Depending on like which part of the beach you're surfing, like peak 1, sort of peak 1.5. That's that sort of famous wedge you see where it's kind of like almost 2 waves come up like that, and they just absolutely just detonate. When you fall like on peak 1, you pretty much always just get like blown to smithereens, like just like
that's pretty descriptive.
just like it sort of feel like you're just getting smashed in so many different directions. You just like don't know which way you're, don't know where you are. Just like you're just getting absolutely like I remember like one of my wipeouts, like it almost felt like I was getting so drilled, but it felt like I was in like, you could almost feel like the air pockets in the water kind of thing. Right, like it didn't feel like, it felt like I was getting like, but it just felt like I was getting so like blasted around, but it wasn't like, I was just like, I was moving so quickly and it felt like I was kind of like, just like so light almost within the wave, just and then
messy, sloppy, choppy.
And that's when I think that's when you're in that like, I guess the explosion part of the wave, and then you kind of get sucked down.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's not as violent when it's got sucked down, but there's a lot more pressure and like water, and it's it's pretty gnarly. Like when you pull your vest and then you come up and you're kind of like looking around and you're just praying the jet skis there, like and then like when it's not there, you're just like, oh my god!
Here we go.
Your board, like, is it always pulling on your leg, or when it goes loose, are you concerned that it's coming for you?
So like when you tone, you don't wear a leash because it's like the boards are so heavy. Like I mean, they go kind of from like 5 to 11 kilos. So and then with your fins and stuff added, like it's a lot of weight. So you don't really wear a leash when you tow in. You just collect the board after. With these boards, the paddle boards, you can feel it tugging on your leg for sure. I think like sometimes there has actually been like people have like injuries on their ankles and stuff.
I was going to say I've nearly dislocated, or from a longboard, nearly dislocated my leg before, and I've got a mate who did actually dislocated knee from a longboard, and he came off of it, and it. Yeah.
And your toe boards as well. It's something I worry about for surfers. I don't know why I worry about it for them, but there must be a way to wipe out where it's worst case scenario, your feet are strapped in and for whatever reason you don't separate. Does that happen from the board?
Yeah, like it's never happened to me, but that's always a bit of a nervous one, because it's like it's more like if you twist a knee or something, and that happens quite a lot. Like I carried a guy out, helped to carry a guy out the harbour this year that had like I don't know who he was, but he'd just like fell and twisted his knee in the strap. So that does happen, and that's why it's like you really want to make sure you get your strap fittings like right, like not too tight and like in the right spot, because it's really important when you're like hitting bumps and stuff like that. So like like you kind of want to just like get your board on your bed or something and put your like feet in the straps and make sure that like for me, I like the strap right over the ball of my, like right over the top of my foot kind of thing. I don't like it just being like my toes. Like I like it right over the top, and also like not, you want it tight but not too tight. That like that you want it tight enough that your feet aren't going to fly out, because obviously then you're just going to fall. But you don't want it too tight that you're gonna you're gonna be glued to the board, because it's not good going under the water with your feet still in the straps.
I'm sort of listening to this as if I'm taking notes, like I'm going to do it. Like I said, right, I'll do it really tight, but not too tight.
You should come out on a ski and have a look.
No chance.
Me and Ben will take you out.
I was listening to Nazare surfing about my past sex life. 15-20 seconds, I'm done.
The last question about Nazare. I'm curious about crowds, photographers and filmmakers, because I feel like this season, I watched the Nazare challenges as well. I feel like this season or last season, it's the busiest. I've never been there in person, but it's the busiest I've seen it in terms of people up at the lighthouse watching. But then all the filmmakers, all the people that are just going there because, if you're there making content for your sponsors and you've got some things you have to provide, you've got some deliverables, and everyone else is just taking that content anyway, posting it, blowing it up on all their platforms. Is that frustrating, and is it busier than it used to be, or am I just thinking that's the case?
Well, I think it's definitely got busier and busier in Nazare. I mean, like when you see the crowds on the cliff and stuff, it's pretty amazing. Like when you're in the water and you just see like huge crowds on the cliff and everyone's cheering, and like I like that. Sometimes it can get very busy, and it's almost like feels a little bit dangerous when everyone's driving around on super powered jet skis, but from a content basis, I think it definitely helps like having lots of filmers and stuff there, because I think like even if other people are getting content for you and posting it, like usually your sponsors like that sort of thing anyway, because it's like it's good exposure for you. Often, you know, you've got their stickers on the board or your jet ski, and it's just good all round exposure. And it's honestly like on a good day at Nazare, it's like if someone's like, if your filmer you were with has missed your wave, so like. For me, sometimes this season it was my mum. I mean, like, so if
which one is he?
One of the 1,000 waves she's missed. If she'd like missed a really good one, for example, you can just like have a little hunt around, message a few guys, and pretty much every wave in Nazare when it's big will be filmed most of the time. So I think it's like a really good spot for your sort of surfing media and a surfing career, because it's like, you know, you've got like Island and Mullaghmore, which is like a massive barrel, and like, you know, probably slightly like it's, you know, it's a better wave really. It's like a massive barrel and it's big. But then you've got like Nazare, which is your sort of like, it's a sick place to hang out. It's sort of your like your media hotspot, great for your like building career. It's got like the ring around it with Nazare. And yeah, of course, having the crowd and the media, and I think that's definitely just been grown, and especially series like the 100-foot wave, that's all like really helped to promote that, and it's like massive now. Like it's quite exciting, you know, like you get down the harbour on a big day of swell, and there's like, you know, camera crews, and there's like 100-foot wave everywhere, and there's like different people filming different documentaries, like camera crews. It's like all going on, you know. It's like pretty exciting.
You're over there to all the cameramen, like Netflix, like, oh yeah, I'm going out there in a minute. Get me.
I think coming what you said, coming from a different time of when a surf video or a skate video even came out, and you'd see things on there. It was the first time you've ever seen that done, or this spot, or whatever it is, and you're like, "Where's that spot? Where's this? Who's like?" And now, I think where you're coming from with that question is like, if you're trying to do something, like sponsors used to like to have the first clip of someone doing something, or you know, something being done. Whereas now, I don't think they can even have a choice in it anymore, because it's just going to be posted anywhere.
Totally, and I think just like you were saying there, like I know like in you know, over in Mully and Island and stuff, like the guys would always say like, you know, can you wait like just the general rule for everyone? Can you like maybe wait, you know, like a week or two until like the swell's gone, so people can't really like, you know, go on and find out the exact perfect conditions it works on, just to kind of keep it a bit more low key. But now it's kind of it's even in Ireland, it's like guys are just like, I've always been super respectful and done whatever the going kind of rules is, but now it's pretty much like I was speaking to Connor about it in Nazare when he was over, and he was saying like, it's just there's so much media everywhere now, and it's like it's regardless of what you do, it's gonna be up there anyway from someone filming on the cliff. So it's kind of like, and especially Nazare, it's up there in seconds, you know, like it's Nazare is like there's like so many different cameramen. It's like, I think that's just the way it goes now. It's gonna be up there on the same day, so there's not really, whether you're a sponsor or a brand, there's nothing you can do about it, so you may as well just roll with it.
Do the people tag you in it if they know it's you, though?
Yeah, people are pretty good with that. People usually tag you. Sometimes they'll tag you by accident, and you'll be like, I'll just claim that one.
It was 101 foot.
I think it's that same thing, like with, you know, I know we still speak about it now, like secret spots. Like, you've got Google Maps, you've got a little bit of knowledge, you can find a spot easy enough, and even from a picture, when someone's saying like, oh, there's no like, you know, there's no landmarks in the background that can give it away. All you've got to do is look at the picture and look at the coastline of that sort of area, and you can pretty much work it out. I mean, you know, and like you said before, if you've put in the time and effort to find it.
The secret spot thing pisses me off. I completely agree that you don't need to go blowing spots up. That I absolutely agree with. Yeah. But like you say, if you've got a bit about you and you can look at a map and look at a sandbar or work out swell directions and winds, then you absolutely deserve to be there. I think even if you're stupid enough to go paddle out in Nazare on your Jamie O'Brien foamy and you make it out back, you deserve to be there. Yes, you're a danger to yourself and everyone else going to have to rescue you, but you probably won't make that mistake again. But you deserve to be there.
Like I think with the spots, like you said, if someone's looked at the spot, figured out how, you know, what tide it works on, and went through the effort to find it, in my opinion, like it's totally chill. Like I feel like as long as, you know, people aren't rocking up with full squads and like, you know, a group of 5 and all camera gear, like if you're just rocking up with you and your mate and you're just going to get some waves and like, you know, and sort of you're not trying to, like you say, you're not trying to like blow the spot up and put it straight online. You're just kind of like getting your footage and maybe doing a few clips.
I know I asked you that stupid question at the beginning of like, oh, so where are those spots? But there's even spots on here. People have said please don't mention it, and we do. We'll say if it's a main spot. We used to say if it was on Magic Seaweed, rip. But it's on Surfline. It's go to. You can talk about it. If it's not on Surfline, we won't talk about it. And I think that's a fair way to go on spots.
Yeah, that's a pretty good.
But then moving on to this next to you, let's talk about some of these stickers you got on the board there next to you.
Yeah, so we've got Dry Robe here. These Dry Robe were like my first like proper sponsor, sort of. Yeah. That and I feel like I'll always really appreciate that because they were the first company, apart from my own, that decided to like take a little bit of a risk and offer me a bit of a deal, and help me out, with getting to Nazare and all the logistics and they helped me a little bit financially, which was awesome. So they were like the first ones to help me. Great products as well. Like before I even like got sponsored by them, like I mean you guys know everyone wears a Dry Robe. I had one. We'd wear them down the beach.
As we've now come to the conclusion as well, it's like even if you don't have a dry robe, you still call it a Dry Robe.
Well, that's just an amazing
yeah, it's like just doing the Dry Robe.
There's so many versions of that. Like, I don't know, a Hoover, for example, you refer to a vacuum as a Hoover, don't you? Yeah. But Hoover's a brand, it's not the product. And that's exactly what Dry Robe have done. Yeah. So Ulex is the same. Yeah,
totally. And, we sell a lot of these in the shop. I was selling them anyway in the store. And I teed up a deal with them, which was awesome. And great products. We'll all wear them down the surf school. We'll sell a lot in the shop, and I help to promote them. So it's like a good cycle, I'm selling them, I'm advertising for them, sponsored by them, and promoting them.
It's easy to promote a product if you genuinely love it.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
Actually, interestingly, Dry Robe was also my very first sponsor and as well.
I think like sometimes you can get that feel like, like I have been with brands in the past where, like big companies where you kind of just like, of course you appreciate, right now it's like, I'm not like a massive international big wave surfer yet, but it's like when you join some of the like bigger companies, sometimes you're just treated like right at the bottom of the pile. Of course, you've got like your Medinas and your Slaters and all the guys at the top, somewhere. But it's like I feel like sometimes you just get very disregarded. There's no budget, rather than like the companies like I've been with so far, like Dry Robe and Extra Tough, have been like real good and supportive and like really interested in trying to help you grow as an athlete, which is cool. And
everyone knows the Dry Robe, Change Robe, right? But more importantly, have you got the slippers? The tent boots.
I haven't actually got the slippers.
Oh my God. They are the best. He's got them in my van.
I'll show you them afterwards.
Nice. I need to get a pair.
I love mine so much, I only wear them in the house. I refuse to get them dirty.
I'm gonna have to get a pair of those. Yeah.
They're so good.
Yeah. So that's sort of where it's been with Dry Robe, the Been Epic. Tynemouth Surf Co, that's obviously my own company, which was originally set up by my dad, Stephen Hudson, back in 1995, and I've like took over that.
Which was way before you were born, was it?
A couple of years before I was born, yeah.
It's also the first ever Northeast surf shop I came to.
It's been here a long time now. Obviously, that's a surf shop, the surf school. We do a lot of our own clothing as well. So like, and to be honest, like without the surf shop, that was like, I guess that was the very initial thing that was able to, to help me to do what I like to do, big wave surfing and surfing, like that's what I do to earn money also, is sort of run the business and alongside my mum. And so Tynemouth Surf Co was set up in 1995, so 2 years before I was born. And so it's been around a while. It was set up by my dad, Stephen Hudson, and it's been running ever since. I took over the business, and it's a surf shop, surf school, and online shop. And we do a lot of our own clothing, like stuff like this, and we've sort of developed a clothing brand, and surf school's really busy, and we're sort of developing the online shop. So that's been like the main source for me, especially like for being able to, that's how like I make like the most of my sort of money, to be able to surf and do the things I like. Without initially having the business, I probably wouldn't even been able to get started, because it's so hard getting into that sort of thing just by having the cash to get your equipment, your boards, your tow boards. And I've been very fortunate to be able to get a jet ski now, with a bit of the help of like sponsors and stuff and the business. So it's been great. Extra Tough. These are like one of my new main sponsors. They are a shoe company, and it's more like boots, like these.
It's like a welly
These
shoe.
bad boys.
Yes.
Yeah, they do a little bit of a mixture. They do some normal shoes. They do a lot of wellies, and these were originally from Alaska.
They slipped on nicely then. I just noticed how nicely they
straight on.
slipped
They're really good quality as well, and they originally are from Alaska, and then they sort of branched out over America, and now they're sort of branching into Europe, and they've been epic, and they're kind of my main sponsor at the minute, and they do like a range of sort of what I really like about their products is it's really like sort of products that are like hard wearing, they're comfy, but they're not like just like they're really good quality, and they're made for like outdoor, in the wet, in the rain.
For sure, yeah.
They're like solid products. It's not like it's not one of those things, like where you spend £100 on a pair of shoes and then they're knackered. You know what I mean?
They stink of cat piss as soon as
they're really like really good quality product, which is like what I really like about them. And it's for like extreme sort of like fishermen and surfing, and like I wear them all the time when I'm down the beach, like on the surf school and stuff like that. They're like perfect for stuff
it's
like that.
It's a funny one for me with Extra Tough, because I've spoken to them and spoken to them for a few different reasons, and I'm like, oh, maybe I could try and get a pair, but I wear flip-flops when it's snowing. Like, I don't know if I'd actually wear them.
Well, they do some sliders. The sliders are pretty good, but they're great though, man. They're cool, and they sponsored myself, and they sponsored Cotty as well this season. So and you just got my jet ski sort of wrapped in the Extra Tough logo, so you'll hopefully see much more of that as well this season. And they're epic.
What I like about the surf shop actually as well is that this was the first ever surf shop I came in, not just when I was in the Northeast in general. So you're probably responsible for me being like every other surfer on the planet, where you physically cannot walk past a surf shop without going, oh, I'll have to go in.
And I think what I really like about the surf shop is like, it's kind of like not just a surf shop. It's like got like real history linked to it, initially my dad, Stephen Hudson, and a guy called Mark Ward, who was like his business partner at the time. I think they initially set it up, and then I think Mark left like 5 years later or something along those lines, and sort of my dad ran it from then. But just like, I mean, all the boards in the roof and stuff like that, like some of these are like Sam Lamroy's, Gabe Davies, loads of local surf. We've got some of Veach's boards over there. I don't know if you've heard of Veach before, but we've got like super cool like well-known surfers and local surfers boards all over the wall. We've had like, I don't know, I guess it's been like a bit of a hub for the Northeast community over the last just last 20 years sort of thing, where it's like, I feel like everyone knows the surf shop. And I guess for me, I was very fortunate like to be able to like, when I took it over, for it to have such a good reputation already, it's like we didn't really need to build the reputation so much, because it's already there, and it's got I quite like it's not like a big corporate business. It's like sort of family run, and it's sort of like real like a proper kind of hardcore surf shop that's not like a big like fancy kind of corporate, there's still like a bit of dust on the ceiling and stuff, and like it's not like but I quite like that. I don't like it to be some like,
it's got a real authentic feel to it,
squeaky clean, like you don't want it looking like IKEA or something,
really commercial. I'll overlay some videos of in here, because for anybody that's not watching, the only way I can describe the roof, and it's like a sort of A-framed roof, there is a ton of boards, and it looks like people have been practicing airs out the back, and they've came in through the roof, but like nose first. It's really cool.
There's just all sorts of random stuff all around the roof. There's like a big anchor up there. There's a chicken on there. And we actually like one time like my dad brought back this bow and arrow from Indonesia, and we were like just shooting arrows into the roof and stuff, and like that you'll probably see a few arrows kicking about and stuff like that. I think they're more down that way, but loads of just like fun little things like that, which is like makes it cool.
And with regard to the surf lessons and stuff, you run them yourself? You've got a team of people who run them, and when do they go from, and how do people book them if they want? Yeah,
so with the first of all, with the surf shop, that's open like Tuesday to Sunday, 10 till 5, so you can just come in here whenever you want. We've got boards upstairs, wetsuits, all your surfing accessories you need. with the surf school, I still do teach, but the surf school is quite popular now, so we do have like a team of us that teach. You know, it gets like really busy in the summer. Like sometimes we're doing like 10 lessons a day and stuff. So I usually do what I can. I do some of the beginner ones, and I mainly like to focus on, like, I've got my own. Not my own, but I've got an advanced Grom squad I coach, and like an intermediate squad. So I mainly like to, whatever level people are, I kind of like to coach the lessons where you get to see the progression, rather than the one-timers. So I usually do like my intermediate and my advanced Grom squad, and any intermediate lessons. And and still do, like, school groups. We do a big variation of lessons, and stag do's, hen do's, corporates, like the whole, anything really. And to book, best option is to just go on our website, which is just tynemouthsurf.co.uk, and you can check out the surf school. Or like all of our team as well, which I really like, is like most of the team are all like surfers themselves, like especially down the surf school, like we're all actual surfers, which is great. And you can book in on the group lessons via the website, or you can just email in for like private groups and stuff like that, and we can organize and tell you the prices. And I think what the sort of model which I've sort of structured the business off is like, you can come, you can do your lesson. If you just want to do one lesson, of course that's fine, but if you want, you can hire, you can get more lessons. We can build you from a beginner surfer up to an intermediate surfer. We can help you with equipment. You can get your boards in the store, your suits in the store. You can keep doing lessons. We can build you right through to an advanced surfer, or even an expert.
Amazing.
Awesome.
Last one, actually, before we move on to saying goodbye. You're obviously, pushing your big wave career, and fair play to you and hats off to you, and we wish you all the best for that. But, we've surfed a few times together. I know you're a hell of a shortboarder as it is. Are you still looking to compete, stay on that circuit, or is that something it's kind of just a bit of enjoyment more so than...
Yeah, shortboarding competitions, I'll do them for enjoyment, just like you say. So like, like a local contest or something, but I'm just focusing on my big wave surfing now, really. I also did quite a lot of sort of longboard competing as well. And, I'd had some like pretty decent results with that. And I'm still going to like do some competing with longboarding, but it's kind of like, I feel like when you want to reach like a real high level with something, like you've kind of just got to stick specifically on that route, So I'm sort of like, that's my route now. I'm like working to be like, the best big wave surfer I can. However, I was out on my longboard this morning. It's not to say I'm quitting all my other types of short, like my shortboarding's still kind of a part of it, especially when it's like heavy water or slabs, I'm still on shortboards then. But in terms of like the competition side of things, I'm sort of happy. I did a lot of that when I was younger, and I will do bits and pieces just for fun when I feel like it, but it's not my main focal area anymore. It's sort of just riding big waves and getting good waves and good barrels, like nice. It's I loved competing as a junior, and I'm sure I still enjoy it, but I kind of much prefer like just chasing a swell and going, and just scoring good waves. It's kind of, it's still got all the excitement you need for me, especially when it's giant.
And then final couple of questions we normally ask: best wave you've ever caught that you can remember, and your worst wipeout.
So my worst wipeout, I've mentioned both of these a little bit already, but I'll run through them. So actually the best wave I would probably say was the one which Cotty towed me into this winter. I mentioned that a little bit earlier on. It was just a massive set wave, came through. It just like the sun almost came out a bit. It was just like everything aligned, towed in. Like, amazing wave, barrel came out. That was like my best big wave I think I've caught, really. My most special wave was probably the paddle wave, which I mentioned when there was just me out the back at Mullaghmore, and I paddled in and caught that one. Like that was just such a special moment, and it was like a thing of me like, all right, I can do it. I can handle it. Like I've just done it. So that was probably like the most special wave of my like big wave sort of career so far, I'd say. The best wave was the tow wave. Worst wipeout was I've been quite fortunate on the wipeouts, touch wood. My worst wipeout though would definitely in big waves be in Nazare for sure, and it was I've got two wipeouts I'm gonna just tell you about if that's okay.
Yeah, go for it.
So the first wipeout was in Nazare. It was in the Gigantes de Nazare contest, and I got invited to that, which I was super happy about. And just pushed myself towards the end of the day, and I just pushed myself a bit too deep, and I got a pretty cool wave, and it's on the Gigantes show actually, and you can see it. But I sort of had to straighten out, and the white water caught up with me. Got about a 15-second hold down probably. Came up, looked for my friend Vinny, and he was just like off in the other direction. I was like, oh God, got like that wave on the head, and I basically probably got like 7 waves on the head just to the beach, and like none of them were like that bad, but just by the end, like I was like pretty tired, and I was like struggling to climb on the sled because I was like so out of like energy and breath,
That's not cool.
And it wasn't Vinny's fault, he was just it's just sometimes that happens, and it was a really tricky day on the jet ski, and I think it was like not that big of a period. The waves were quite close together, and it was just one after the other. Anyway, shook it off and got back on, but I think that was the most like tired I've been. I just thought, bloody hell. My other worst wipeout was actually just at a reef break up here. And I feel like I talk about all these spots like Nazare Island, and I do love those, but sometimes there's no better than just surfing at home with your mates when it's firing.
Yeah.
Like you just
funny how many people actually say that.
You just can't beat it, man. And like there's just something about it. I think you've got this also like extra bit of confidence at home. You've surfed here your whole life. The waves a bit like, and speaking of confidence, probably got a bit carried away, and sort of just was surfing this like really really shallow slab, and I paddled for a wave and just like sort of pin dropped, and the wave just like picked me up and just literally just like flung me around like flat onto my back, like onto the reef, and I hit my head and I hit my back like really like pretty hard. And I remember just being under the water and just feeling a bit dazed and kind of like almost seeing stars a little bit, and then I was like under there, and I just suddenly thought like whoa, like I need to come up, and I like came up and then like got another one on the head, and but I guess that one, it just scared me a bit because I thought I was with a friend, but still like if I'd knocked myself out there, like and that's when it comes into the whole thing, like I should be wearing like, and I've bought a helmet now, but it's like when you're young, you just like this was probably like 4 years ago, and
I think if you ever surf in anything like reef slabby wise, you're mad not to. I know when you're younger, you're like, it doesn't look cool or whatever like that.
This is interesting because we're having this conversation at Lost Shore at the minute about helmets and the Bay Area for sure. And what's really cool is that the Groms now, quite a lot of them just wear helmets anyway and bigger surf.
And I think the wave's been quite good when, when the Groms, because they make them wear the helmets there. And I think that was a good step because like, Groms just kind of like maybe get used to wearing the helmet. And
UK-based waveguarding facility in the south.
But
the thing is, like, if you look at skiing for an example, years ago, probably when I was a kid, if you wore a helmet skiing, not that I ski, but I know this, if you wore a helmet skiing, people would look at you as if you were some sort of kook. And actually, that's now if you saw somebody on the slopes without a helmet, you'd probably think that's a bit odd.
What are you doing? Totally.
So it's about changing perception. So hopefully, in surfing, we can get to that. And the Groms are certainly doing it. A couple of weeks ago, date of recording, the Open was on in Thurso, and all the kids, the Crookshanks were out charging. Callie was charging, 13 years old, it was double overhead for an adult, all in helmets, so not even a thought about it. And I hope things like that can change them perceptions, because when it goes wrong, as you know, it goes wrong
100%. And I think the thing is, in winter we wear hoods obviously on our wetsuits, and I had a hood on that day, so it's not like I had no protection, but the hoods really don't give you enough protection,
especially in the ears for surfers here.
So like
hoods don't do anything.
It's like I think all that's really important. And on that wipeout, I smashed my coccyx, and I was okay, but my coccyx, and I was like I couldn't walk properly for like a week, and I felt like I just knocked myself out, and I was like right, and after that I bought the whole Patagonia impact suit with the legs on. Now like I get a helmet, and I think on the helmet front, it's like. What I found hard is actually finding a helmet that's comfy, especially over a hood. And I think like when you're skiing and stuff, I think there's been such a development of the helmets. It's like they're all kind of like pretty comfy, but like I haven't really found a helmet that I really like love yet. So I'm still working. I've got a helmet I wear though, but it's not that comfy.
That's a fair point.
We had the guys on another note of the sort of safety and stuff. We had the guys from Molded Pro in here doing some earplugs, like an earplug clinic here, and like. honestly, I mean, like mine and Sandy's ears are just like knackered. They're like grade 3 surfers. Yeah, I mean, I wear plugs pretty much any time I go in the water now, but I think that's another thing that's so important for all the groms is like ear plugs as well as helmets, because they're, you know, like, I mean, I'm sure you boys would, if they looked in your ears, you'll probably have some surfers ear going on, I'd imagine.
Oh, we're affiliates with molded ear plugs anyway,
okay.
so have been since the start.
How's your ears?
Oh, mine are fine, because I will not get in the water. Since...
What did she say to me? I had absolutely perfect ears.
I was
better than perfect.
Really?
I was better than Mitch in everything anyone's ever done. I can't remember what she said. No, they were all right. They were really good.
But even getting an ear infection, it's like, you're like, I'm never going to do that again.
But she did tell me, you probably got it because she said your ear canal was like really sharp, like, didn't she? Or something like that. So it's like, where most people like gradually go backwards, if I might even be making this up, but it was like quite a sharp turn on mine. So she said that's probably why they're all right.
Yeah,
that's why I mentioned hoods, because Pete was one of these people that thought, I'll just wear a hood in the winter, I don't need to. That offers you zero, the water still gets in. And it's not about the water getting in the moment, it's about the little bit of water that's in your ear, and then you go walk about town or whatever you're doing, go about your day, and the wind hitting it.
I'm like you now, though. I don't go in the water without them pretty much. But it took, to be fair, I've been wearing plugs probably since I'm about 18 maybe, but you know, obviously I surfed from when I was like 6 to 18, you know, with no earplugs really, time. And like they're mine are pretty bad, and Sandy's are like real bad as well. I'm sure he'll tell you about it in next week's podcast.
Well, there's I'm going to start adding one question to the other two questions we ask now. As you know, we don't do set questions, but we do ask that about what's wipeout, best wave. So I'm 6 foot tall. I'm not, but let's go with it. I'm 6 foot tall.
We measured you this morning.
I know, that was a fun experience, wasn't it? So let's say I'm 6 foot tall. I've just done a bottom turn, right? And my technique's terrible, so I've done a bottom turn fully stood up, right? And the wave, I'm right at the bottom of the wave. The wave is in line with the top of my head. In feet, how big is the wave? Don't think about it, answer.
6 foot?
There we go. That's all I wanted to hear.
That's
all I wanted to hear. That's good to hear.
Yeah,
exactly.
But
whoa.
If I was looking at the conditions from the beach, I'd probably say it was like 3-4.
It's just such a funny thing, isn't it?
I know. It's the way it goes.
I just don't know why we play it down, because we always know. You'll know if your mate. I don't know if Sandy said to you it's 3 foot, you know exactly what he would mean.
Well, like one of my waves got like measured on the TV program Gigantes de Nazare. I don't know exactly what measuring methods are used, but they had like a scale thing on the wave on the program, and it was you know, it was 19.5 meters, which is, you know, near 60 foot. But if I looked at it and like someone was asking me about it, I'd probably be like, it's probably like 25, 30, you know?
Exactly. I don't know why we do it.
It's just like playing you down, but I don't know. I guess it's just you don't want to blow yourself up too much. That was me on the 60 footer.
But what's the point? If that shortboard, how big's that shortboard there?
It's a 5'11".
No, it's not. It's a 4'2". If we apply the rules of surf wave height,
I totally agree. Yeah. I don't know why we all do it, but I just feel like everyone does it.
That's why I only refer to it as body size. It's nipple high. That's it.
So. If you could tell everyone where they can find you online, where they can look at the surf school, where Instagrams, Facebooks, YouTubes, everything, and it's all yours. Go, tell them your work.
Thank you very much. And so if you just Google Tynemouth Surf, I'm gonna restart. So if you want to find the surf shop or the surf school, if you just have a look on tynemouthsurf.co.uk. We have Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, all the social media channels are all under Tynemouth Surf Co. And for my own personal Instagram and socials, it's all just Loui Thomas Hudson, all one word. If you'd like to check that out too. And massive thank you for these guys having me on today from the UK Surf Show.
Oh, we've never had a thank you at the end, and also he's clearly done media training, because he looked straight at the camera when you were when he was selling himself.
I've had a little bit of practice.
Product placement. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Yeah,
nice to hear about the surf shop and Nazare, and we wish you all the best.
Thank you very much, guys.
Nice one, dude. Well, cheers for that, Loui. And if anyone's listening or watching, or actually if anyone's going to be in Nazare with Loui, either watching him surf or with him, my ultimate advice would be to go check his inflation vest for him.
Shall we chuck that video in now so people can see what you mean?
Yeah, maybe I'll chuck it in, because I've always been curious about how violent these inflation vests actually inflate, and I've spoke about it in the show before, I'm sure. But a mate of mine's a big wave surfer, cribber sort of big wave, not Nazare, but he's in the army, and he got his first inflation vest. I remember him telling me he wore it in the block one Saturday night. He was in the shower and there was no one about, and it was a really small like shower cubicle, and for whatever reason I think he had like one hand stuck inside. He'd put one hand in the inside of the vest, just feeling for room or whatever, and I think one of the toggles got caught on the shower cubicle, so it inflated the vest. And he said he was stuck because it's quite like fat, and he couldn't get out the shower, and he had to shout for help and there was no one about.
Yeah.
So I've always wondered.
You would know what it feels like, wouldn't you?
So I've always wondered how violent they were, and Loui was like, "Oh, why don't you try it on?" So I won't spoil it too much, but yeah, please, if you're near him, please check his vest before he goes out.
Yeah. So if you're listening, you'll have to go onto YouTube and watch it at the end of this episode right now, and like and subscribe to YouTube channel while you're on there if you haven't done so already.
You might as well go back and comment on the previous 108, 107 episodes. Actually, no, they won't all be on YouTube, so there you go. It might only be 60 you have to comment on.
They are.
Are they? Right,
they are.
Okay.
They're all on, but the earlier ones don't have any video or anything, and I keep meaning to go on there and put audio only on them, but
it's done now. It's done now.
I can't be bothered.
We've got a rough flow, and it's nice. My favourite thing is when we record intros and outros twice in a row because Pete forgot to press record. That's definitely not what's just happened.
No.
But anyway, Loui.
No. I didn't forget to press record. I pressed record, I pressed stop, and it started recording. I pressed record again, and it said no SD card. And I was like, what? And there was an SD card. It was just Gremlins. But yeah.
But anyway,
yeah, what a nice guy. And like I've said to you before, like I never know quite what to think of like when we're going to meet a big wave surfer. I always presume, obviously on my own error of judgment, that they're going to be arrogant and like I don't know, sort of macho arrogant sort of thing, you know, like that. I don't know, it's just like that classic like American Hawaiian attitude, you know, of like big wave surfers. I always just presume they're going to be like that, and all the ones I've met so far are just absolutely lovely and down to earth.
Well, I remember when I first started paying attention to big wave surfing and started watching it like as a thing. I remember chatting to, I won't say who it was, but a really big name in UK surfing, and I was asking him if like that's something of interest to him, if it's something he'd want to try and go do. And he was like, fucking no chance. He said, these guys and girls that surf them kind of waves are just, I don't know, he didn't say they were mental, but he's like, they're wild, different. Like, we could probably agree, you need to be a bit mental.
Fucked in the
head. you got to be a bit mental. But actually, the three that I know and I've spent any time with or spoke to, so Cotty, Ben Larg and Loui, they're all so down to earth and so normal. Maybe they're really chilled. Maybe that's part of the thing. Maybe that's why they're able to just go and surf it and not see the fear factor, which is why I think you would be good at surfing, Nazare, because we've already established when you wipe out, you just give up anyway. So that's a good thing.
No, I think it's that. I think it might be that thing of that, you know, like alcohol versus stoner sort of thing, where you never see anyone who's stoned having a fight, but you know, people who drink alcohol are like rah, like that. It's that same sort of that stoner mentality of just being like really like mellow and just like like not couldn't be bothered to do it. But you say that the wipeout I'd be fine with, and the taking off I would not be fine with, because on any big waves I've surfed, when I surf Nazare, but any big waves I've surfed, like, and I say big waves for me, that is, which is, I think the biggest I've surfed is like probably 8 to 10 foot in real feet, so whatever you call that, overhead, double, triple, quad millionth overhead, whatever stupid terms they're saying, about in real feet, I'd say about 8 foot high from 2 foot above me, 3 foot above me, and it's fucking terrifying. But it was big, heavy sets, and it was in North Devon, and it was a spot that I've surfed before a few times, and a spot that every time I surf there I have a bad time surfing there, so I just try not to surf there very often.
Yeah, right.
But it's just when it goes too steep, I get that like like those like palpitations. You know, like when you when you go over, when you're abseiling, or if you've ever done rap jumping, where you turn the climbing harness around and go over forward, so it's like rapid descent forward, so you run down the front of the cliff, but as you go over the edge, it's that like that, or dropping into a vert ramp, as I've described it before. It's like the like that fear you get when you know that fear because you've stood up there. When you know when you're gonna go and drop in, first of all, you get that, like, it's like your heart goes. Like so I get that on it, and it's just the wiping out don't bother me. I get ragdolled and whatever, I'm fine. I just relax and come back up when I come back up. The taking off on it, I would not be good with.
Yeah, see, because that's interesting. I'm with you on big waves. I just don't like them for one, but there's a couple of things specifically. Like I like a big wave if it's mellow. Like if I can actually I've got the time to take off and set a line. When it's steep, and it comes back to my back issues, that I physically can't pop up on literally a vertical wave. When it's just a straight over the falls type of takeoff, I can't pop up. So I'm never going to be able to surf a wave like that. Thankfully, I'm training again with Alan, so hopefully I'll get closer. But, you know, when you've got a physical restriction, it's not ideal. But then, for me, it's the violence. It is so violent. Like, I think the biggest I've surfed, and I definitely shouldn't have been in them waves. Even now, I wouldn't have gone in waves like this. I've spoke about it before. It was my worst ever wipeout up in the Hebrides. It was huge. I mean, it was well over double overhead. I shouldn't have been there. And just the ferocity of the two wave hold down, but the ragdoll, and I can't even fathom what that's like. I spoke to Loui about it before and after at Nazare. Obviously, I spoke to Ben about it before, and there's so much water, there's so much turbulence, it's so heavy, it's so dark. And there was an Irish big wave surfer I saw on some, like, you know, like a Channel 4 short documentary type thing. It's some little 15-minute thing on at 2 o'clock in the morning. And this uni were measuring impact forces on a wipeout at in big waves. It wasn't Nazare, but it was like Mullimore, somewhere like that. And they said it was the equivalent of a car crash at like 60 miles an hour or something daft.
Yeah.
That's just, you come out like Mr. Potato Head, just all bits of your face in different areas and that. Like, no thanks.
I think that's like that might be why I like the violence of the wipeouts, because it reminds me of my childhood. You know,
yeah, totally. We can all relate, or some of us can.
As I say, the thing that still makes me laugh, I'll be like driving along, or I'll be sat there just thinking to myself, and your little voice will pop into my head of that thing you said of like, oh, when he came home from the pub, I didn't know if he was going to hit me or hug me. I still just sat there again.
Not a little voice. That's never been referred to as a little voice before.
You got your little Scottish voice. That's
well,
it. Yeah.
This was a great way to kick off the Northeast edition, actually, as well, because, as you know, the Northeast is where I really started my surfing journey. For 10 years, I was posted there. Tynemouth Surf Co, which is Louis's little baby, was the first ever surf shop I ever went to. So I've known Loui for quite a bit of time. And I should say as well, like, outside of Nazare, he's a phenomenal shortboarder. And it is super exciting because I feel like, you know, the future of UK Groms is in such safe hands. Like, seeing people like that at all these beaches you go to, like, I think, you know, we're going to have a place, and it's not going to be in 4 years, might not be in 8 years, but, you know, sort of.
But someday.
The rest of someday. But, you know, it's cool. Coming for the UK and surfing.
And such a lovely bloke. And then if you do go to Tynemouth Surf Co, and you may as well just pop into Surfers next door as well, 100%. Because, oh my God, those burgers. Burgers and that food was so good. But anyway, if you want 10% off Surface wetsuits, use the discount code UK Surf Show 24, and that'll get you 10% off anything you order from Surface.
Or if you want 10% off molded earplugs, use the discount code UK Surf Show 2024, and that'll get you 10% off molded earplugs, which are the plugs, you know, I've been using for quite a long time actually now. I swear by them, and I should remind you that anything above 19 degrees water temperature is when you don't need to wear earplugs. Anything below that, you do. So protect your ears. Our water never gets to that temperature. Protect your ears. protect your hearing. Don't get surfer's ear. 'Cause I don't want my ears getting cut off and getting my ear hole drilled out. That's not cool.
No. I think you've got that scripted that little bit. You every time someone says earplugs, 19 degrees.
it's probably not even right. It's probably like 20 or something. I don't know. No, it's definitely right though.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So probably not, but it's definitely right. So yeah, don't forget as well on the what was I going to say?
Me and you episodes.
Yeah, that's it. Sorry. Don't forget the episodes with Mitch and I. We've got some features coming up on those. One of those features being working class heroes. So if you've got someone in your area, a local surfer, a local shaper, shop worker, surf coach, anything to do with surfing that does stuff for the surfing community in your area, and you think they could do with a shout out, send us a message, send us a bit about them, what they are, where they do, where to find them online, where to find them in the real life world, which people should go out in more, and we will shout them out on the show in the working class heroes section.
I think you mean surfing class heroes.
Or yes, the surfing class heroes, which is even better.
Yep.
So yeah, we'll do that, and I'll do a little cover of the John Lennon song. So a surfing class hero is something to be.
Yeah, let's move immediately on from that. And right, this has been an absolute cracking way to kick off the Northeast edition as well. Going to finish on, I mean, there's so much to look forward to. It was just really good. So look forward to the rest of these, and leave a comment, let us know your thoughts. Tag Loui, just for the sake of it.
Yeah, just in case you didn't know he was on here. And like, subscribe, leave comments, all of that. Follow us on the Instagram, the YouTube, the Facebook, the TikTok, the
Times.
Bye.